What's up, everybody? It's Lo, your host, and the rest of the Vols ATB crew with Brando, Alex, and Drew. So today's a pretty big milestone because we officially have 50 days until kickoff in Neyland Stadium. I'm so excited. It feels so great to say that. Um, but other than that, we really don't have a ton to talk about besides our past summary of recruiting for the past week and a half or so. As everyone who watches this knows, Brando is our main recruiting guy. So we are just going to start with that and let Brando take over.
Yeah, I think last week with Jake, we talked about the scheduled commitments coming up. You had Cameron Seldon, Shemurad Umarov, and Jalen Smith, the three known ones. Tennessee goes 3 for 3 on those guys, gets all three of them. And then also on July 10th, right after, church Sunday service, five-star edge rusher Davian Bradley commits to Tennessee, coming off his only unofficial visit. He saw enough in the process, wraps it all up, kind of a surprise commitment. Very few people kind of knew about that. Tennessee now has two top six edge rushers in the 2023 class. Going on this run they had, landing three 4-stars, 1 5-star in the span of 4 days. Absolutely insane. Tennessee, after missing on a lot of guys, now in that top 5 range, ranking number 5 in the class overall. Absolutely crazy. Just a huge weekend, and it can't be said enough. The recruiting tear that Josh Heupel and co went on this week, it was absolutely insane. Drew?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the best recruiting weekends. I mean, easily under the Josh Heupel era by a mile, but I mean, one of the best ones that we've had as far as I can remember. I mean, since I've started focusing on recruiting, which is probably since the Derek Dooley era. The fact that you go 3 for 3, with Umarov, Jalen Smith, which I think, I said on overtime on Monday, I think that's going to be one of the best guys out of this entire class.
Thanks.
He's an absolute baller. But with Umarov, Jalen Smith, and Cam Seldon, who, is one of the top guys that Nico really wanted in there. And then just get Tre'Davian Bradley out of nowhere, is it's just huge. And then just the fact that on top of that, we might have lost Lucas Simmons, which is very unfortunate. But, we're right there with Stanton Ramil, which I think he's just as good as Lucas Simmons, if not a little bit better. And then, we also got another wide receiver, Nathan Leacock, that should be committing within the next week or so. So, I mean, considering missing out on Francis and Carnell, I mean, Tennessee's bounced back tremendously. And, the fact that we're talking about having a top 5 recruiting class in mid-July, 50 days before football season, that's it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, Drew, Brando, y'all kill it every time. And I always kind of take a back seat in these conversations. Y'all do way better job of keeping up with this stuff than I do. But it kind of reminds me of that time, 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe, when we had every day we had to commit under Pruitt, but it still kind of felt funny. It was what's kind of going on? This is kind of weird. This doesn't normally happen. But the way that we bounced back, like you said, Drew, with losing Carnell, but still getting some other people, and then losing Francis, but still staying hot and getting those other ones that we were looking at, I think that's huge. Just our ability to bounce back on the recruiting trail. And I'm excited for the D-line to see what Garner does when he gets players that he's actually going for, that he's recruiting, because the man can develop the hell out of anybody. So now that we get real talent in, not that we don't have real talent now, but we've seen what he did. He made a group overachieve last season. So when we get super production in there and get some depth, I'm just super excited just to see how that plays out with the way that games are won in the trenches sometimes. So just excited, honestly.
It's funny that you mentioned Francis because after all of these commitments the past few days, I couldn't give a shit less about losing Francis. We've landed some super solid commits the last few days. My other favorite thing is that we took Jalen Smith over LSU, which to me just shows how attractive Tennessee is as a university right now to all these players, and just shows how far of an upward trend we're going in recruiting, in my opinion. Stealing guys out of Georgia, stealing guys from LSU, these are big things, and I don't even think that it's a question that they're going to be massive contributors for Tennessee as soon as they step on campus. So I just think all around we're doing a very good job.
Oh yeah, I mean it's no question that it's true. I mean, So I'm going to read this off. It's absolutely crazy. In the 2023 class right now, Tennessee, they have the number one player in the state of Tennessee, Caleb Herring. They have the number one player in Missouri, Shandavian Bradley. The number one player in Kentucky, Christian Conyer. The number two player in California, Nico. And the number two player in Virginia, and Cameron Seldon. And that's just like the few to name off, not to include like Tyree Weathersby, Jeremiah Thielander, guys like Jalen Smith, who's like, you look at their stat line and you see that 3-star rating right now. And if they're not a 4-star in the next ranking, it's absolutely ridiculous because these guys are putting up seasons with like 130 plus tackles in their junior year of high school, going into a phenomenal senior year. So, I mean, it's just no question what, Tennessee's doing. Like you say, miss out on Francis, miss out on Carnell Tate. I wouldn't call Lucas Simmons kind of really a miss because Tennessee was trying to get back into that one after losing Francis and probably got in there too late. The guy was obviously committed to Florida State. But you look at, teams like that, Tennessee staying hot on the trail right now. And then obviously in the day and age of college football with coaches getting tossed left and right, they're one bad season from, losing that recruiting class. So I look at a lot of these guys that we missed. Tennessee goes in there, maybe, flips one or two, not all of them, tries to get back on anybody, maybe a high 4-star guy on the line, getting the D-line, kind of fixed up. I think that's a big one for Tennessee in recruiting, and that could be huge, huge, huge to getting part in the 2023 class. And I'll end my take with to win in college football, you have to have a really good quarterback, and you have to have guys that can get to the quarterback. And Tennessee, they have Nico, a 5-star quarterback, 2 5-star edge rushers. And I look at that already in, year 2 of the process. That's super, super amazing to have like that early kickstart. And if Tennessee can continue to do that 2024, 2025, that rebuild is going to be a lot quicker. So,
yeah, man, and we're going to be in really good shape even after losing Byron Young and Tyler Barron after this year. Because, we're going to have a lot of freshmen come in. But when you think about Tyree West, Joshua Josephs, then, Caleb Herring and Shadavian Bradley are all going to be
James
there.
Pierce.
James Pierce, too, another one that's probably wind up being a starter by the end of the year. There's a lot of talent there. And, guys, I don't remember the last time we've had this much talent on the defensive line at any time in Tennessee. It might have to be back in the 90s, honestly, during the John Chavis and, Fulmer era. But when you talk about, like, getting a lot of these guys like Jalen Smith and Jeremiah Thielander and Christian Conyers, these guys might be 3-stars now. But it's going to be actually huge for our recruiting points and like recruiting perspective on keeping our ranking in the top 5, because all 3 of those guys are going to be 4-stars by the end of November, early December. Like I guarantee it. And when you add that on there, we really only need to like maybe get a couple more guys in there. And this, I mean, I think worst case scenario, we finish 8 or 9. Like this, I think it's almost a lock now at this point that this is a top 10 recruiting class, which it's been a very long time where we could even say that before even the season starts. So just an unbelievable turnaround from Heupel and his staff, and especially Rodney Gardner, just absolutely crushing it.
Yeah, I'm a step in with a Twitter question right quick. We kind of are hitting it right now, but Avery Jank 07 asks, what are y'all's thoughts on our interior defensive line this year? If y'all want to keep expanding, I know, Drew, you kind of just hit that right there, and Brando too as well. But
I mean, I think, like for us losing Matthew Butler, I think this defensive line is not going to skip a beat. They set the program record last year for tackles for loss of 107 in the season, which is just unbelievable to think considering the depth issues that we had. But when you have Byron Young, who I think is probably going to have at least 10 sacks this year, Tyler Barron, who has SEC experience, I think he's going to take that extra step. But then you have that depth behind where they're freshman talent, but, James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, Tyree West, these are guys that can make an impact instantly. And the huge contrast that we've had from recent years is that, we would have a good starting 11, but then the depth talent from going from the first string to the second string was like a step back. I don't think there's a step back with this defensive line. There might be with the secondary and other positions, but as far as the defensive line goes, it would not surprise me one bit if that core winds up finishing the top 3 in the conference.
Yeah. I mean, I'll add to that to say that Rodney Garner, he's going to always get the best out of his interior D lineman. Then you also got to think of a crazy maniac like Mike Eckler on the edge, just coaching these guys up like James Pierce and all that. But when you look at the interior guys, I look at a lot of promising, young guys, Tyree West, Jordan Phillips, and I think it starts in recruiting. Obviously, right now, Garner being a really experienced veteran coach, I know his coaching tactics are A1, but right now in recruiting, I know it could probably be better in the 2023 class. And I think you obviously will have that name emerge later on, like last year at the final minute, flipping Tyree West. Vic Burley, I heard that he's not the number 1 defensive line target anymore at Clemson. So a lot of these kids take that kind of personal. So later down the line, if a relationship like that can come in handy and you can kind of flip a guy like that, Vic Burley or another interior D lineman to add to those guys on the edge, I agree with Drew. There's no reason that the D line should step back with all that coaching and experience. And I think in the SEC that with especially how our defense plays, having to play quick off the ball because of our offense, those D line guys they're getting trained right now to be snappy. And I just think that that's going to make our D line more vicious than it has in recent years, where we couldn't even get to the quarterback under Pruitt. So.
Well, I just want to add to that I mean, even the guys that have went from year 1 to year 2 already have so much more experience and training under their belt. I mean, just imagine like all the reps that they get in practice versus this offense. I mean, you kind of got to sit back because last year we knew nothing about what to expect, but now we do. And just knowing that they're getting reps against Heupel's like elite offense just shows you that they're already getting trained to be better. So I'm not concerned about it. And recruiting wise, I think they've done a phenomenal job on that point. So I don't see issues.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, you're good. That's good.
Also, I think that like you were saying, if you practice against how fast our offense runs, then other offenses are just like cakewalk, essentially. Like in terms of speed. But yeah, like obviously there's like really good offenses and stuff, but like if you good and you move fast, like you almost like feel like you're playing from behind before the game even starts. But if a team's like slower than, or like most people are going to be slower than us, that gives our line a break and just get ready to set themselves. But honestly, as long as we got Garner, I'm perfectly fine with whoever we bring in because I trust what he's already shown us. He showed how much he could develop in 1 year, but also that he pumps out NFL talent. So if you get on campus, he's going to make something out of you. So as long as he stays here, I'm cool. I think defensive line is the last thing that we need to worry about.
Yeah.
Do whatever to keep that man.
Yeah.
Honestly, pay the man.
I'll give a shout out too to BJM, our linebackers coach Brian G. Marie, because previously a couple episodes back, I was kind of dogging him for his recruitment, going out there, landing Jeremiah T-Lander, Jalen Smith. It also sounds like also coming out of spring practice that Elijah Herring and Joshua Josephs are going to be really impact freshmen too in that position. So, also starting at the linebacker position that's really, really, in need to go along with the interior D line. And then the DB room is starting to kind of recruit itself. You still got guys locked in, Sylvester Smith, Jack Luttrell. Sounds like they're still going after guys like Ricky Gibson and Jordan Matthews. So all in all, like it's all falling into place. And if you can fix that defense, all the depth holes quick, it's just that process just speeds up for itself. But to also have the experience coaching like Mike Eckler, he's been coaching a decade, Rodney Garner decades, BJM decades going back to Texas and South Florida and other teams, and then Willie Martinez, who started off here way, way back. So I just think you have like the right crew, like the recruiting NIL, it's really helping Tennessee. So you got that experience, guys are going to get into the league, and it's just going to help overall. And I just always see that speeding up, helping us all. So
I think another thing that we kind of forget too is because, our defense is on the field for like a long time, like during the game. I mean, I think it was like on average, they're probably on the field about 35 or 36 minutes every single game.
And then the Kentucky game, like
45 minutes for the Kentucky game. But like, they can actually, and the crazy thing about this, I kind of thought about this earlier today, like they could actually use that as a recruiting tactic in the sense of like, we already have 3 or 4 edge rushers in this like class alone. If you go and talk to guys, like, hey, look, you guys are going to be on the field the majority of the game, and we're going to have to do rotations nonstop on players to make sure that everyone's fresh and healthy and everything. And you're going to have more of an opportunity to be on the field than as opposed to going to school X, where you're just going to be redshirted or, play as a backup for the majority of the season. So, and in a crazy way, as like ridiculous as it is, and like how, in almost unbelievable condition that these guys on defense have to be to play for that long, it's actually a pretty good recruiting tactic to tell these kids that they're going to be able to play immediately. So
I fully agree that maybe that's what they've been doing, Drew. You just got an insight.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, all in all, it's crazy. Like the recruiting, they said he couldn't recruit. Number 5 class in the country, number 1 in the SEC. And obviously, like teams like Bama and Georgia will probably end up surging like later on. Tennessee, like already locked in. Like I said, 2 5-star edge rushers, like in a quarterback, the 2 positions that are, gone after the most, where you have like, teams like Bama and Georgia missing, like Georgia going after Arch and completely failing. And then Bama now they have 2 top 10 ranked quarterbacks committed at the same time. Somehow they just keep on adding on. They got Dylan Lonergan and they have Eli Holston, which is absolutely crazy. But obviously, you just look Tennessee. They're getting the guys they want. Maybe one or two misses, but overall, they're going out there and they're getting those guys, and it all comes around. So, really, really impressive going into year 2, especially after not even a crazy year 1. So.
For sure. Do you have anything else you want to talk about recruiting before we bring up the other thing we wanted to talk about?
I think all in all, Drew said, Stanton Ramil coming up at the end of the month. Nathan Leacock probably going to be around like the 21st, I heard. And then you got guys like Ricky Gibson, probably like August 5th, August 3rd in that Dayton range. So probably not every day. I know we're all kind of like fiending for some more like domino effect recruiting, but Tennessee's still looking to add some guys. And I think they're in great spots with all 3 of those guys. So go and get key pieces on the defense would be a really good spot. So just think Tennessee's going to add on, and I think they're still going to stay in that top 5 range. So should be really good for the team.
Absolutely. So the next thing we wanted to talk about, I saw this and sent it to the group chat like a couple days ago.
Yeah,
24/7 Sports, Brad Crawford is projecting Tennessee to beat Georgia this year, 34-31 in Georgia. So let's just go around and hear everyone's thoughts on this.
Yeah, I saw it pop up on my Instagram feed, and I mean, the first one was the Georgia one, their projection that popped up, and then they posted the Tennessee one shortly after. And I know like Georgia fans, like everyone in the SEC was sick when they saw that, saying there's no way that Tennessee's going to go into Athens and beat them in year 2. Like there's just no way after they lost year 1. And then they showed ours where we were expected to lose to Bama, LSU, and then South Carolina. And I have beef with both parts because, I mean, the Georgia one, it's probably realistic, but going into the other part of like losing like the Bama game, it had like a 34-31 loss, and then I think the South Carolina was like 37-34. I just don't see us losing to Shane Beamer, the same guy throwing his hands up down 38-7 last year. I just don't see that with Spencer Rattler making that crazy of a flip when they didn't address any positions of need. And then the Georgia one in itself, I know that's the main topic. I mean, I know that's going to make people sick, but I just think our offense, like let's be honest, they did lose their whole defense. Like everyone got drafted. Now, is Kirby Smart going to be like enough in like Nick Saban type to reload year after year after winning a natty? Is he built like that? No one knows. Like it's going to be interesting to see. The quarterback position's kind of wary. Their defense was taken out, losing their DC to Oregon. So I mean, it's realistic, to be honest. I can kind of see it. If Tennessee can go in there year 2 under Heupel and shock the national defending champs, Drew's over here sick to his mind. He's not even convinced for beating Florida and Tennessee. So I mean, there's definitely a way. It's just not likely, but
I mean, like, honestly, for even with my opinion about the Florida game, I will admit that that's a pretty high chance that we win that game. Like, everything about that makes sense of us winning that game, right? Nothing makes any sense whatsoever about winning Georgia. First of all, we've won there twice since 2006, okay? And the only reason we won 2016 was because of the freaking Dobnail boot and because Juwan Jennings is an absolute goat. That's the only reason. We basically lost that game, quite honestly. Yeah. We're not going in this year, okay? It's going to be closer than it was last season. I will agree. But we're not going to go and beat Georgia on the road. And we're sure as hell not going to go theoretically beat Georgia on the road and then go lose to freaking Shane Beamer and his goofy ass in Columbia 2 weeks later.
There's no shot.
Like it's just the whole entire thing was ridiculous. And the more I've realized, like the more of these like experts on these websites have no idea what the hell they're talking about. So I think
24/7, you kind of know.
Well, they're in it for the shock factor, but none of it's real.
We're sitting here talking about it right now.
I mean,
it's a discussion.
Even Josh Pate, who works for 247, has like a radio show. He was like, "This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen." Like,
I would think back to when we had Christopher Gabriel on the show. He kind of said that Tennessee would probably go out there and shock one team and then get shocked by another team. I don't think that team is South Carolina, respectfully. I just don't see it. Maybe, like a Pitt or like I don't even know who else we could really lose to. I don't think we have a problem with Florida, Kentucky, or Vanderbilt next year, period. South Carolina, I just don't think things are right. Yeah, I don't think Missouri and Eli Drinkwitz don't scare me. I just don't see it. They missed out on 6 transfer quarterbacks. They had to, beg for someone to come play for them this year. So I don't think they'll be really good. I just don't see it. I think Tennessee rolls, but
The one game I could see where it'd be like a shocking upset, even though in the back of our minds it wouldn't really be that big of an upset, would be the LSU game. That's a game that
I mean, I guess, yeah.
On the road. We're not
I've
winning.
always had it as an L, though.
And as far as like the upset goes, I mean, maybe Pittsburgh, but if we're gonna be honest, it's not really that big of an upset considering they won the ACC last year. But like, we're not gonna lose to Mr. Four Eyes, Missouri. Okay, that's a fact. We're not gonna lose to that ball-headed loser at Vanderbilt, and we're not gonna lose to Mr. Goober, Shane Beamer at South Carolina either. So they need to like chuck this fucking prediction into the bin because this was awful.
Yeah, I mean,
hey Drew, we had somebody in the Twitter feed say this is from Vol Admiral. He said, "I agree with Drew, but at the same time, I disagree with that fan being off with that hair in this heat." So you got people that are pulling for you, but they don't understand your I guess like your thermodynamics because it's hot.
My thermodynamic, like what? Because I have long hair.
I guess he just don't want your neck sweating, but he agree with you. So I mean, there's that. That's the first fan to agree with you.
It just seems like a really off-topic comment, but Fall Admiral for it, I guess.
Okay, I wanted to make a point. So let's just look at this realistic in a somewhat of a momentum type way. So say Tennessee like beats Ball State, Pitt, Akron, Florida at home, which I'm expecting.
Yeah.
I think they win at LSU, lose to Bama, and beat UT Martin in Kentucky. That would put them at 7-1 going into Georgia, which would be absolutely freaking nuts. And it's far enough in the season that it could be a pretty close game. I mean, way closer than anyone probably thinks.
No, we're not doing this. I'm not gonna like fantasize that. I'm not gonna like
Cedric Hendon Hooker to SETI touchdown.
When I read it, this light clicked into my mind for a split second because as a season ticket holder, I requested tickets to Georgia and LSU. And I was just like, what if I was there for my first trip to Georgia and that happened? For just a glimmer of hope.
I just know Baton Rouge is going to be stupid crazy. I can definitely see that being a reasonable loss just because off environment alone. Like
depending on game time. We talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah.
If it's a 3:30 kickoff, I would like our chances. But if it's a noon kickoff where it's 11 a.m. over there or a night game, zero chance. I don't like it at all.
Volman just replied to our tweet saying UT Martin Skyhawks with the upset. I just want to point out that we are not Vanderbilt. We do not lose to our FCS opponents anymore. Anymore.
We did try that one season. Didn't work out well, but
I pointed out in one of my group chats the fact that Tennessee potentially could go in there and kick the head coach of UT Martin, and then his son plays for a team that we're also going to play that we kind of missed out on way back then. I just think that would be kind of cool if that did kind of fantasy happen. That'd be nice. But all in all, that schedule prediction thing off the charts is stupid.
Really?
So many flaws.
8-4, 9-3.
Drew, we're going 9-3. It's just flipped around a little bit.
Reasonable with a bold win. That's 9-4. That's a great year too.
I mean, it's better than you like 3 weeks ago. I agree.
Much better than 3 weeks ago. And as we're approaching the season, it's getting closer, and he's slowly but surely kind of getting better as we get closer.
And like how we started the episode talking about the 2023 class, the way you capitalize and you finish off going into December and May, you have a good season in year two. Everyone's trajectory, you look at like Ole Miss, second team coaches going, second year coaches going into the SEC. They all had that trajectory going up from like 8-4 to like 10-2, 9-3, just making at least a little jump in improvement. And I think if you let recruits see that also with what you're offering, just in general as, a top university and top grossing income university, I think that'll, get Tennessee super back in the recruiting game. And it all comes back to getting guys here. So if you went back on that, absolutely crazy. But 50 days, absolute madness, Ball State, I still think we'll have a good turnout. I just think everyone will be hyped for year two. So
if we get like 90,000 there, I'll be pretty happy. I think
at night on a Thursday.
I think 90,000 for a Thursday night is a pretty reasonable thing. I mean, we only had 80,000 last year, so
yeah. But that was
What's this question, Alex?
There's a question from Knoxville V865, and it says, "How much will QB play be affected in second year / off season scheming against our offense. But I don't know that I understand it.
How much would
Is he
you?
asking
Like,
like how people will scheme against us, or
I think that's what he's asking.
That's why I don't. Yeah, it says against. Yeah, against our offense. So yeah. So I guess he's saying like, now that people have seen our offense for a season, like, do you expect a lot of change moving forward? Honestly, no.
I'll point out, yeah,
Not at all. I don't even. I mean, yeah, there's no way Heupel even showed half of what he has. Not to
no,
mention all the
exactly, yeah.
returning talent and new talent. Not a chance in hell. He's just getting started. I know that this sounds ridiculous, but he is like a mastermind in offense. That I have no doubt that anyone will be able to stop us at all.
Yeah.
And
It was said.
Oh,
Sorry, I was gonna say it was said like how Lowe said it. It was said that Tennessee Heupel, he only used like 25% of his official playbook going into year one, and then we talked about it plenty of times on the show. Year 1 to year 2 where Heupel's been Utah State, Missouri, everywhere in Oklahoma, like involved. Like the numbers from year 1 to year 2 under a second year QB is absolutely phenomenal. Then you added on the outside with Brew McCoy, you have your inside slot, and also going 4 wide more this year and having more threats in the field, playing in space. Going quick. I think Tennessee's going to be even quicker. They were like the second quickest team or first quickest team last year, 2.99 plays or 2.99 seconds between plays. Absolutely crazy. So I don't think that anyone's going to be able to scheme like that. And if they do, it's going to go against like their players' conditioning. Because if you just kind of scheme against that like 1 week, a year, like I feel like that kind of affects your fatigue going into a game week. So I just think that, kind of hope for the best, maybe take ripples of it. But like y'all said, he's only getting started, to be honest. So.
I also think it'll be cool to see Hooker be QB1 for the entire offseason and going into the regular season. Because why are you shaking your head?
Oh,
Go ahead. You're making a good point.
you are.
So I think like we also forget that Hooker didn't have a full season as QB1. Like we did start with Milton, so Hooker will have again more time. Not that he didn't settle in. Obviously, he did 33-3 touchdown interception ratio, but like he will have a full season, a full off season as QB1 in practice, and then also go into the season as our official leader. So I'm excited for that. But also, yeah, I really don't think you can't show all your cards in year one. And I think Heupel just has so many things up under his sleeve that we're just waiting to see. But I mean, when you have an offensive mind like him and you come back with more continuity and you bring in all the talent that we're bringing in, like I don't see how people prep for it. They can try. I mean, like there will be times where we have lulls in the offense, like that happens. But I still expect a lot more of the same as last year. Like we're still going to be putting up like 40 points a game. Obviously, dropping it still on Beamer's head. I think he's still going to be putting his hands up when his team scores a touchdown. They still down like 42. That's fine by me. But no, I'm just excited. That's all I can say is I can't wait to see this play out. Like the closer we get, the more I'm like, all right, I'm ready for a touchdown. Like I gotta hear Rocky Top playing. But that's just me.
So one of our viewers on the YouTube chat, he pointed out like a really good point. This is how teams are going to stop Tennessee next year. They never addressed the rule of faking injuries. They got rid of the Kenny Pickett's fake slide thing. There was a lot of other changes, but they didn't address the fact that, Lane Kiffin and many other teams later in the season started going down with cramps in the freezing cold in November, December, January, even in the Music City Bowl game. So, like, that's one way that people can stop Tennessee. How often, I think they said, like, they'll give them a warning, but there's going to be no repercussions for it, which is absolutely crazy.
That's pathetic, but it's real. It is smart.
Yeah, it's smart. And I think, like, I also think, though, that Heupel and then, like, after, like, the second half of the Ole Miss game and seeing that, like, hey, like, they're not going to stop doing this. Like, they're just going to keep doing this. Like, this is how they're going to play. You also had to kind of game plan around that. So I feel like things like that, like, you obviously know what's going to work, but they probably went into, little ripples, playing against, defects like that, getting, good things like Warren Fields phase. Like, if you can come back with a big play after a fake injury like that and keep your momentum, that's what kind of happened a lot. Like Tennessee, 30 seconds off the clock, off the field, you couldn't really use your advantage. And, like, they tried as hard as they could, but when you're playing from behind and that happens, like, it's kind of impossible to get back with how we play. So I think as long as you can play ahead, play fast. Last year, we led the nation in point differential in the first quarter, like outscoring teams like ridiculously, like 28-7 every time, like stupid. That's what helped us a lot. And I think if you just get ahead quick, it's going to be hard to keep up as long as our defense gets 1 to 2 stops. Like, we should be in good hands. But the Gatorade jugs, man, the cramps, it's just crazy. December weather.
Well, I mean, you always get cramps during, that cold November and, dry, late December weather. So it, from a physical standpoint, makes complete sense, obviously. But I think they're going to be able to recognize maybe some of the formations that Heupel has under this offense after the first year. But like what you said, I mean, he said back in April that they've only used 25% of their playbook. And I think what he's actually really going to capitalize is like what you said with with people using the fake injuries and the fake cramps. He's probably going to try to use more of his playbook on capitalizing plays after having those, having that happen during the game. And so that was a huge thing last year. Is we couldn't get anything going once a team did that. So I don't really have any concerns about this offense. I still think we're going to average 45, 46, 47, 48, maybe even 50 points a game. It's just, I just hope we can stop someone on defense, and just have the lead at the end.
Thanks.
Well, the other thing we wanted to talk about was this ridiculous list that came out. We were just talking about Hendon Hooker and 33-3 versus interceptions. And he wasn't even not on the top 10 or the top 15 or even the top 20. Who all was above him? You guys let some people know about that.
So the three quarterbacks that LSU has, Miles Brennan, Jaden Daniels, and I forgot the other guy, they were all above him. Spencer Rattler, who literally got booed off the field after being an absolute disgrace at Oklahoma and got benched for the rest of the year, he was at 3. He was higher than C.J. Stroud at Ohio State. I mean, Will Levis was above him, Mr. Mayonnaise Boy himself.
Rotten banana.
Yeah. And then, was the guy that, transferred from USC to Pitt.
Caden
Slavis, number 9. Caleb Williams, who hasn't played it down at USC, number 2. I mean, this list was the most bonkers thing I have ever seen in my life. And Pro Football Focus has put a lot of dumb shit on their Twitter.
Yeah.
This is the cream of the crop. I mean, it was mind-blowing. I'm not going to lie. When I saw this morning on Twitter, I had to go outside and pace myself in the Enterprise Wallet parking lot because I was fucking furious. I mean, it was ridiculous.
No, you raise a good point, Drew, because literally on my account, I've had 3 posts from the last month and a half of Pro Football Focus talking about how Hendon Hooker led the nation in play action passes and his percentage from touchdown to interception ratio, leading the SEC, third in the SEC, coming back as the most experienced quarterback. To ride that coattail and then to go in there and not even put him one of the best dual threat returning quarterbacks in the nation would have been probably 4th, 5th round pick in this year's draft, decided to come back. And then you don't even put him in the top 10 over a guy, Caden Slavis, who put USC in the downfall, got beat out by Jackson Dart as a true freshman. Caleb Williams, only playing because Spencer Rattler got booted off the field. The list was stupid. And I just think that if you don't have Hendon Hooker as a top 10 quarterback after he beat multiple of those quarterbacks or is going to beat another one of those quarterbacks this year, it's just going to come back to bite him. And I think he's going to beat a few on that list. So.
And that was another thing, too. It wasn't even that pissed me off, right? They had Jackson Dart and the other guy, Ole Miss, 2 of those guys above Stetson Bennett, which made 0 sense. I don't think Bennett's the best quarterback in the world, but the guy just won a national title. I mean, this whole entire list just made no sense. I haven't been this angry in a very long time.
Hey, I just wonder how they get paid to make lists like that. I guess to trigger podcasts. Yeah,
I don't know.
To be pissed off like this.
But so.
Hey, if you didn't know who he was and you only listen to South Carolina fans, you would think that Spencer Rattler is the next coming of Jesus and the rapture's occurring just because they got him. But this dude played in the Big 12 in a pass-happy offense with a very good quarterback developer in Lincoln Riley and a conference where nobody plays defense. And like you said, Drew, got booed off the field because he played so bad. So why do you want to come to our conference where the lines are better, people play defense, and you're really not going to get much done, and you think that you just going to be the 3rd best quarterback in the country? That is why when we were talking about the Georgia game, I feel like it's more reasonable to think that we beat Georgia than we lose to South Carolina solely based off that. That's crazy to me that they think that he will come in and just fix everything. He's not good. Prove me wrong. I mean whatever, but still that's crazy.
He's terrible. I mean literally through 3, I think it was 2 or 3 interceptions against West Virginia last year, who is statistically the worst defense in the Big 12.
Neil Brown.
Were the only defense in the FBS that was worse than them was Missouri, and that's because Missouri's defense is like Swiss cheese. I mean, like
yeah, we saw what we did to them. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'll say respectfully, there's a reason why Caleb Williams is out there in Southern California and not Spencer Rattler. There's a reason why he's in the SEC at South Carolina with Shane Beamer at his second resort. And I'll also agree that South Carolina, their offensive line, respectfully, going up against SEC teams with their schedule and then having to play Clemson and other teams like that. I just don't think that by the end of the season, I think maybe another group assistant head coach or whatever they had last year will have to come out there and play quarterback again, because I don't think that Spencer Rattler is going to last. And I sure don't think that he's a top 3 quarterback in the country or the SEC. I just respectfully.
You really think a school that produced Connor Shaw and Steven Garcia is going to make Spencer Rattler be a good quarterback? Get out of here. Give me a break.
Ain't no way. Special teams coach ain't no.
Until as a grown adult you stop saying "Go Cox," then like I don't trust anything that you do on the football field.
They have a meme going around right now where they have their logo in a body and it says it's the cock in me. Like that's how they get down. So.
Or they have like a Eastern European EDM song as their entrance with Sandstorm. So I mean, just terrible.
Like, figure it out.
We're gonna have to go play there this year. That's gonna be awful.
Y'all just embarrassing us.
For that, if I have to hear that stupid ass song, I'm going to fight someone. I'm not going to that stadium this year.
They're like the little brother that got invited to the big kids party. Like they're just kind of hanging out doing their own thing, and it's like everybody else like, okay, let's be serious over here. Like, yeah, go Cox.
I mean, I respect Vanderbilt more, and Vanderbilt's never been worth a damn in football.
Yeah, because they know they're not. Like they at least know their spot, but they're like, oh yeah, we got Spencer Rattler. Okay, 4-8.
God, I'm pissed.
I'm livid.
Well, let's just like I said, I think the only reason they make this that fucking idiotic and with no sense is just to get people like us to get all pissed about it.
To get us
that's what's crazy though. Like all the great buzz that Tennessee has right now, there's no negativity all around in the air. And then they're like, they have to throw something out there like, all right, fuck it. Let's get these guys mad.
Well, the switch flip, because now all the negativity is just on how fucking dumb they look. We don't even care. We know.
It's weird. Like I have to actually search for shit to be pissed off about, not just about the state of affairs with the program. I have to actively now look at lists and look at ridiculous nonsense to get angry. I mean, it's
fun.
I was gonna say what a joy that is.
But sports, Pro Football Focus, we're throwing your list into the trash can because that's disgraceful. Absolutely.
Disrespectfully. No respect at all. No respect intended. 0%.
We're not lighting couches on fire yet, but we're damn sure lighting y'all's lists on fire.
Yeah.
I would love to have one of them come up on this show next week and explain themselves. But not just that schedule, but that the audacity to literally have 3 quarterbacks on the same team in the top 20 altogether.
It'd be equivalent to having a guy in someone's basement from Vol Nugs on here, Drew. I don't think that Pro Football Focus is the top of the tier of credibility. But the fact that they do, get reposts is kind of crazy.
I mean,
especially that bullshit.
That Ryan Tannehill is a top 10 quarterback. So let's just take
that's too far. Okay. I'm not here for the Ryan Tannehill slander. And I will not take it.
That's where Brando draw the line.
I'm just saying, he's no Charlie Whitehurst.
Oh my God.
I can't even tell you who that name is. I don't even know who Charlie Whitehurst is.
Go.
Did y'all want to say anything else? I did want to give a shout out to Jake Miller for having Drew and I back on the radio this past Monday again on Overtime. And if you guys did miss that, you can catch the replay on the Sports Radio Knoxville app. Then for having us on for that. Closing thoughts for everyone. And this literally not many episode. We're going to do 30 minutes less and we're at 40, but that's fine.
I guess, the overtime appearance growing the brand, but you also look at Tennessee athletics, Tony Vitello got him that little UConn first baseman the other day, which is a huge transfer pickup. Kind of went quietly with all the football stuff that Tennessee's doing. I think Tennessee's building the brand really well. You're having the AD and everyone buy in with their 5-year plan they announced over there. Everyone's kind of buying in. They have their full trust, and Heup was able to do what he wants to do. You're seeing it win on the recruiting trail, and now, like we said, we're in the beginning, 50 days until he can prove it on the football field again, going into year 2, which I fully expect. I know counting down in these next weeks. I don't know, quick maths, 7 weeks. Yeah, 7 weeks exactly. Maybe 7 more episodes before football season, 6 to 7. So it'll be absolutely crazy. I know we're going to be itching for content, and I'm sure we'll have like more recruiting stuff next week or the week after that. So closing statement, absolute win, and big things on the recruiting trail.
I mean, it was a perfect recruiting weekend last weekend. I don't think we could be in a better position than we are right now on the recruiting trail. And I think it just really speaks for volumes on how well Heupel and the staff is doing as far as like the state of affairs with this football program. When in mid-July, I'm getting pissed off about Pro Football Focus quarterback lists and season predictions from 247 Sports that has going 9-3. So when I'm getting redneck angry, Roane County rage, Farragut furious, Powell pissed off, Alcoa angry about going 9-3, then it's a good thing.
Closing arguments. Well, there's a bug in my face. Spentler Rattler's not good. He will be bad this season. And in about right at about a month, we've got our live show. So just keep that on y'all's calendars at the Skybox in Knoxville. A lot of big names floating around that might be hanging around our show. So definitely come hang out and see us. And it'll be our first time meeting, all of us in person. So we can all meet each other. We meet y'all, whoever's listening, whoever wants to come. So just keep that on y'all's calendars.
Literally so wild that we all haven't met in person. It absolutely kills me.
We should have a Q&A, like have people go and ask us questions, like as if it's a town hall or something like that.
Josh Heupel, where are you at? Bring the staff, bring the whole gang.
Seriously, that's going to be so fun. I get scared about us talking about it because there's so much planning, but at least we have the venue and the date and all that set up, so that's good. But,
we're going to be like the Fire Fest.
No, it'll be awesome. We still got a month. But I don't know. I guess my thing is kind of like Drew. It's like just be excited, be happy that this is the shit we're talking about in July leading up to this season in year 2. I have nothing but excitement. Just 50 days until we're almost at 49. Like, I don't know. It's just absolutely exciting. I can't wait to be there. I'm leaving work early and everything. I've already planned for it. So, yeah, just a lot to look forward to. But I don't know what the hell that was.
I don't know
what that was. Anyways, until next time, I assume we'll be here next week. I don't see any reason why not. So I guess look out for us next week. This will be on Spotify tomorrow or Friday. Hopefully, if Ronnie gets it in gear.
Come on, Ron.
So until next time, good night. Go Vols.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.
The balls.